go. When you paint with Citadel, chances are you're going to paint directly from the pot, at least if you're lazy like me. Well, the pot's going to be left open to the air, and that exposure means your paint is going to dry out sooner than had you used something else. But generally speaking, it takes a while. Another choice would be golden. Golden is another top-of-the-line paint. This is mostly seen in just arts and crafts stores, but at the high end. So like if you're painting on canvases and stuff. I only use this for certain metallics and special effects paint. I almost never really use it for miniatures. And I'm just putting it in the video just to throw it out there to show you a different alternative to what's out there. Then you have, of course, your cheap paint, which you can get anywhere. You can get it at Walmart. This one is Yard and Garden. It doesn't exactly count, but I just wanted to show you basically your size reference here. A pot of Citadel paint will probably run you, I'm not quite sure, $2.50, $3. I'm not sure what the price is at. And roughly the same with Reaper and Vallejo. Now the cheaper paint that you can find at any craft store will be, $1 to $1.50, or even less than $1. In some cases, 50 cents. What's the difference? I know a lot of painters who whisper that they use the cheap paints. Really, the only difference is it's a lot thinner. The pigments don't lay down as nicely, but it's not a huge difference unless you're really into getting into the professional market. So yes, you can use this paint. However, if you are going to use this paint, I definitely recommend that you finish with some form of sealant, and if not one coat, then two, just to seal your paint job, because this paint will end up chipping sooner than say Citadel. This is geared specifically for adherence to the plastic, and it tends to be more durable than just this generic, well, crap. But you can use it, and you have a wide array of colors, and you can get it on the cheap. So yes, you can go ahead and get that paint. Just keep in mind it's going to be a little bit thinner, so you might need to use a little bit more layers. And another problem it has is when you go to the store, they could have been sitting on the shelves for, a billion years, and the paint could have been separated, which you will see along the side. Now sometimes the paint's recoverable, sometimes it isn't. A good shake will usually tell you if it's fine. If it mixes up to a solid color along the whole bottle, it's probably fine. If you're shaking it and nothing happens, probably a problem. So it's a little bit of a gamble. You just have to watch what you're buying. But it's doable. It's certainly not taboo to buy some cheap paint, because it'll work. It'll just be a little bit more work for you. Not that much work for you, though. I mean, if you're on a budget, and a tight budget, or you're not really that interested in getting into miniature wargaming and doing this for, a long span of time, that's definitely an option. What's going to happen if I buy the 20-pack of cheapo brushes at Walmart or Target? Why do I have to go to an art store and pay so much money per brush when I can get a pack of 10 for $3? Well, remember how I said you're going to need some scrabbly, scrungy, nasty brushes? You can buy some cheapo brushes, and that's what's going to happen after your first time painting with it. So if you want to go ahead and buy a couple of cheapo brushes, that'll be fine, because they'll be good for applying washes and some dry brushing. But I wouldn't waste the money, because they're not durable brushes. And I mean, professional brushes are hard enough to keep the tips and points nice on, let alone craptacular brushes. So please try to stick with actual nice quality paintbrushes. Even the GW brushes beat out, although by only a small margin, in my opinion, the cheapo brushes at Walmart. So there you have that. The other thing, when I was talking about Reaper paint, the Reaper paint actually came, when you ordered the paint, usually came in triads, which is they would give you a medium range paint, a lighter paint, and a darker paint. And that was great. This project is going to require that you have a lot of different colors. So unfortunately, you're going to be putting out some money in terms of paint. But again, you only need to buy a little bit at a time. So just try to think of it that way. You don't have to go out and try to find yourself, a big case of paint. Especially since cases like this, especially from Citadel, can be very hard to come by because they like doing everything limited, as we all know. It was not easy for me to even get my hands on this. But this case comes with, every color in the Citadel range. You also get a tube of glue, which is crap. I've never used it. It's essentially Elmer's glue, and I would never use Elmer's glue to put a model together. Citadel also makes something called foundation paint. A foundation paint is a thicker paint, and you don't need as many layers to lay down a base coat on your model. It saves a heck of a lot of time. I like the foundation paint line. And of course you can get all of the Citadel paints solo, so you don't have to buy all of the colors. They also have, I can even get this out, washes. Washes are like a watered down paint, very liquidy. You can even hear it here. It's very, very much a paint it's just like water except tinted. And that's good for getting into the recesses of a model. There's a lot of different tricks you can use with washes, which we'll get into later. But you're definitely going to want to have a selection of some washes. You don't necessarily need the foundation paints, but just get a selection of colors for the project. Probably going to be starting with the terrain and the bases. So look for grays, whites, blues, turquoise and greens. Colors like that is what we're going to be beginning with. So if you're limited right now on your funds, kind of look to those colors. How many to buy of each color? Personally, I like to buy a medium shade, a dark shade, and a light shade. But if it comes right down to it, just get yourself some black, some white, and a color. And you can mix lighter and darker from there. Now, generally speaking, and I know some people get upset, you don't like mixing with black, it's fine to do, okay? Just purists will tell you shouldn't really mix with black to get something darker. There's, this thing called the color wheel, and there's better colors to use. So like if you wanted a darker red, you should add green, and blah, 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 blah. We'll talk about that a little bit later when we actually mix colors. But right now, just get a basic helping of colors. You don't have to knock yourself out. Just get a few colors to start with. Like I said, we'll be doing terrain first and working our way up to the ships. And yeah, so grays, whites, get some black, and blues and greens for the water. And if you don't want any of that green in your water, well then, super. That's one less color you have to get, right, Muggsy? So, just a nice little helping. What? I didn't talk enough about the primer. Oh, I guess. Alright. When it comes to primer, like I said, there's different kinds of primer. You can get different colors. Different colors will give you a different look when you do your paint jobs. So if you're starting with a black primer, you're going to have to layer more to achieve a brighter color. So say you primer with black, but you want to paint a ghost. Well, you're going to have to use a lot of layers to get to that nice white finish. So you might as well prime with white primer or even a gray primer. You don't always have to use black primer. I'm a masochist, so that's usually what I use. I'll talk a little bit more about it when I see the ships, but obviously the spectral ship jumps to mind on using something other than black. And actually a lot of the terrain too. When you're dealing with skeletal things, you kind of want to start with a lighter primer than a darker primer. But like I said, we'll get there when we get there. Is that good enough for you, Muggs? Glues? I already talked about the glue. I did. Well, certain kind of glues, and my camera is being out of focus here, but certain kind of glues you don't want to get. Just make sure that your super glue is good on plastics. As long as it's good on plastics, you're good to go. What some glues might be a little bit too strong and melt your plastic. I've never had that problem, but then again, I've only been using Loctite and Zap-A-Gap, and they're good to go for plastic. But like I said, I've used Loctite on a lot of metal models without a problem. I've never had any plastics melt, so I would suggest Loctite. But if you can't find that brand wherever your location is, then just make sure that the super glue, and make sure it is super glue, not just any regular glue. Just make sure it's good for plastics, and you'll be good to go. Alright, did I cover everything now? Can we end this video? Huh? Well, I guess. If I've forgotten something, or if you have questions, just let me know and I'll cover it next time. What? What? You don't like my rum fountain? I mean, every self-respecting pirate needs a rum fountain. Even one with a rubber ducky pirate. Join me next time, you scurvy dogs. Not you. It's okay. I don't mean it. It's alright.